Beyond the sea lies a continent almost forgotten in Myrland.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Wolfszeit channel. Today with a very special topic, always special. The basic Sarducaa lore. And hopefully...
Soon it shall begin. The new age of Sarducaa.
So Starboard is currently working on the Reckoning patch and the whole community is waiting for the Reckoning patch. And after this, a new continent will arise in our land. Question is, will it be Herabalta or will it be Sarducaa? So just in case if it's Sarducaa, we will discuss the Sarducaa lore today. And oh boy, there's a lot of lore. I've also asked Starboard to provide more info. So we will see if we will get more of that or not. Until then, you can watch the other videos I made about the lore of the game. First off, for all who don't know, this is the Mortal Online map Nave. We are currently having the continent Myrland and we are talking today about the Sarducaa lore. So yeah, fasten your seatbelts as we go down the sandworm hole. So all back to the basics. So Sarducaa is made up of 6 regions, 5 deserts and 1 massive jungle. And this landmass is very brutal compared to the Myrland jungle. PvE in Sarducaa on foot was basically impossible, so from difficult. Anyway, the heat on there will roast you alive in no time, and traveling was more or less impossible until you have the right armor with you, or you going from shadow to shadow or from oasis to oasis and hoping that you will not lose your way, or you are just straight up Sarducaa and you're having no problem living there. It's still hot, but it's manageable hot. For Thursars and Ogmirs, this continent is way too hot for them, so they're having constantly problems breathing, or how we call it in Mortal Online, permanently stamina debuff. The whole desert, or the most part of it, is just dead, but there are a lot of crawling creatures there, or a lot of very, very strange creatures. And before someone roasting this map in the comments, at least it's a map. The most important word in Sarducaa is boss, which means not boss, but bows, or how it's called, it's B-O-S. I don't know how I can pronounce that, but it basically means desert. So this is the most important word. So if some role player came to you and pointing somewhere and saying bows, then you know it's a desert. Especially when the whole continent is 90% desert. And of course, water is also rare. And the problem is when you find water, there are maybe also a lot of creatures there, and maybe also creatures that like to defend their water. Or you can do it like me, like on my first day on Sarducaa, I'm riding and I'm seeing, oh shit, my character is too hot, I'm gonna die. And then I found a very nice oasis to rest by. Then I'm going in there to cool myself, and then whoa, a crocodile is there, and then I'm like, oh, die crocodile. And then you kill a crocodile, and after you realize that these are panzer scales, which are pretty awesome, by the way. So first off, the most important thing on Sarducaa is of course the main capital city. This is Beth Jadda, more or less also the birthplace of the Sarducaan nation. Then there's also a smaller settlement that is called Belrum, a mountain settlement surrounded by sharp peaks and natural springs. And in the far south lies Pash, a very old and ancient fishing village that is straight connected to the sea, which is pretty awesome because it's a fishing village. I know on this map it doesn't look like that, but it was like that. Maybe a Mortal Online 1 Sarducaa video will come when it's requested, so please leave a comment below, would be nice. There are also other strange stuff around the map, like for example hidden ruins, strange, very cultist looking structures, also very dangerous craters. The biggest crater is the Boss Come, or how we learned earlier, Boss the Desert. Come, I guess it's crater. And also one of the most dangerous things ever, you can see here in the background image, the glass furnace or the glass crater, because it's so hot in there that nearly everything in there is nearly glass. There's also a video of me running into this crater from Mortal Online 1. I need to search that. But yeah, when you're not a Sarducaan and you're not having a constant healer with you and a lockpicker who can open the chest that was in there, then you had no chance of survival at all. But this is a very dangerous place. And the navigation in Sarducaa is all about planning your journey, basically from oasis to oasis, or from shadow to shadow, or when you know at what time you travel, then of course you can only more or less guess where some shadows of some mountains are and stuff. And when you don't have a mountain shadow, then you may be having a problem soon. I really hope that Starboard will implement something like no compass in Sarducaa or something like that, or that the compass is just turning randomly and stuff in the desert because you are lost in the desert. It would be very interesting hardcore gameplay, but I know that maybe not a lot of the community want that, or if Starboard even want that, I don't know. So yeah, just an idea. idea. But back to the word boss, which means desert because it also has more meaning to it than it sounds. The word also means freedom. So in the language of the Sarducans, the same word for desert equals the word of freedom, which is very interesting. Also, the Sarducans having an old tradition that is saying just because a place is empty doesn't mean it's worthless. They really respect the desert. They are not fearing the desert. It's a place where you can build something, but only if you're strong enough, of course. Not every desert in Sarducaa is the same. There are also some rolling dunes. There are also some rocky plains. There are also winds and sandstorms for each region, which will kick your ass at some point or another, in some way or another. But this is also what makes it very exciting. I mean, it was a very interesting exploring role-playing content for a lot of people. So let's talk about Iri'tzemach, also called the Great Growth. So most of the time Sarducaa is really bone dry, as you already know. But every now and then something very wild happens. Not only when Star Wars deciding to spontaneously terraform something, there's also a very rare weather condition that is called the Iri'tzemach, and these are causing massive rain clouds to blow in from the western sea. And this is happening once around every 2 years, about that. Sometimes even 10 years, so nobody can really predict that. But it hits the whole continent and the whole continent changes. So that sand turns into green fields, flowers, lizards, toads, even fish appear out of nowhere. And the whole region is blooming into temporary jungles and savannas. So especially for the tribes in the jungles, this is their best hunting season ever. But nearly all Sarducan know that when the Iri'tzemach is over, the real danger begins. The real danger begins. Because the Kerakim are now on the hunt. And oh boy, a swarm of insects. It's not so funny when you have freshly planted your salad in your garden. But they really kill everything. They kill everything that is green. So that is a desert again. It's a never-ending cycle. So Iri'tzemach and Kerakim are more or less an ecosystem of good and bad. But people flee undergrounds in caves and bunkers and stuff, and also the Beth Jadda labyrinth, where also in the first game was the stone book vendor. Just a side note there. And there are all labyrinths and caves and bunkers in Sarducaa. And these bunkers were especially built to be safe for the Kerakim. So it took a lot of effort to build bunkers like that. And as you have guessed, yes, the Sarducans learned the hard way. So in the past, there were a lot of dead Sarducans. And they also built labyrinths and many other stuff. Another word that you should remember when you're traveling to Sarducaa is Vaha. Because when you see some Sarducans there, or maybe some travelers there, you can ask for Vaha. It basically means Oasis. And over 1,000 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago, where the Tecton Bridge was built up, a lot of people didn't know what Vaha meant. And they came across a merchant there who were just trading armor books for gems and stuff. And they were asking him where the next Oasis is. And of course, he didn't understood the language. And it was very hard to communicate. And later the people died because they haven't found an Oasis. So you should really remember Vaha is Oasis. The interesting thing about the Vahas is nearly every one of them is very sacred. And if you pollute them or piss literally in there, then you can wake up that is even worse than the Kerakim invasion. And oh boy, that sandworm, that hurt. There's also an old tribal code that was even engraved in nearly all the caves in around Sarducaa. It was called Nang Vaha, which basically translates in no combat oasis. Not even argumenting or speaking loudly at an oasis. So only whispering at Vahas is the thing, because otherwise the sandworm or something worse will come and will rip your ass apart. So in the ancient times of Sarducaa, or especially Beth Jadda, or the villages near the Class crater, warriors had so much honor and respect for the desert that in the middle of the battle, they would let each other's drink when they request a drink, even in a fight. But this tradition was dropped because of the Crypt Wars. I mean, it doesn't sound as great as a new Sabaton single, but this was also a very big thing that we will discuss the next time. So if you found this video interesting, then please leave a like, subscribe, would be really awesome, by the way. And the second part will be released soon. So special thanks to all of these supporters, of course. Carmel, Lucario, Mr. Minerva, Damn Tired, Ronus, Paternax, Clone Bulldog, and all the others, of course. And never forget to make Sarducaa lore hard. I mean make party hard. And see you all next time. Goodbye.